welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be an exciting video to film. This is going to be my favourite reads of 2025. So I know a lot of people do these favourite videos and people do them in various different ways. Some people do like 25 favourites of 2025. Some actually make a favourites list and rank it like 1 to 10, like from favourite to like least favourite of the favourites. But I would find that really difficult to do. I can't really pinpoint exactly one book that is my favourite of the entire year. So the way that I have decided to do this is I'm going to be doing a favourite from each month. So I will have 12 favourites on this list. They're not going to be any like order from which is my most favourite to least favourite. These are just going to be in order of what I read them in, so from January to December, which one is my favourite from each of the months. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you might know or have noticed that I don't give a ton of 5 stars out. Some months I give out more than others, but I really don't give many books 5 stars. It really does have to take something special to really wow me and really give, like, for me to give it 5 stars. I give quite a few think I gave quite a few 4.5 stars out in 2025, and I definitely gave more 5 stars. I'm pretty sure that in comparison to like 2024, I think I gave 30 something 5 stars out, although I did do a few rereads as well, so that obviously will have attributed to some of them as well. But yeah, I had a really good reading year in 2025 and I was happy with what I read. I am also going to be doing a separate video on all of the 5-star books that I read in 2025, so if you want to see like all of my favourites, obviously anything that got a 5-star is, I guess, automatically a favourite, but these are, as I say, the favourites from each month. So we'll start with January. And for January, I had 5 5-star reads to choose from, and the one that I picked was Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. I have been really loving the Rome, Kentucky series that she's been writing. It is a small town romance series, and I am up to date by the last book that just came out at the end of December 2025. And this one I had a really good time with. This one follows Emily and Jack, and they are kind of, I wouldn't say enemies to lovers, it's more like a hate to love situation. They are both teachers at the local, I think it's a secondary school, like older children, or it might have been primary school. I can't remember what the age range of students was that they teach, but they are both teachers, and they've got this kind of workplace rivalry. And Jack actually moved away from town because he was due to get married to his fiancée, but for reasons that marriage didn't go ahead, and so he's moved back to town and he's back in school, and it's obviously their romance. I really liked this one. Jack is also a secret writer. He has a he writes under a pen name, and he's actually quite successful and no one knows about his identity, and that's like a subplot that does come out throughout the book. And I had a really good time with this one. I think the thing that Sarah Adams writes really well is that she writes a good romance, but I also really like the secondary characters in here. This is a small town romance focused on this one particular family, and we get to see the family come out throughout the book and see kind of previous characters, which I really enjoyed seeing. So yeah, absolutely love this one and would definitely recommend it. Then for February, I actually had 7 5-star reads in February, but the one that I picked was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is book 1 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series and book 1 in the Nightborn duet. I had to pick this one because this one really sparked my enjoyment for Carissa Broadbent's writing, and really I think she was my most read author in 2025 in terms of I read so many of her books, because I had quite an extensive backlist to catch up on. But this one is definitely a favourite. This one follows Aurea and Rain, and this one is obviously a vampire book, and we know that I love vampire books, so had to mention at least one on this list. And this one is a really interesting setup. Aurea is actually human, and she's taken in by the Nightborn king, whose name I have no idea what his name was. I've written down the couple's names, but I can't remember what his name was. But she's taken in, and he raises her almost like his daughter. And there is this trial that comes up every so many years in this world called the Kujari, I think is it how it's pronounced. And basically there's this trial that basically to see who almost like the best vampire is, and she is entered into this trial, and obviously she's not expected to do very well because she is a human, but she's obviously been raised by the king, who has definitely taught her, you know, valuable lessons about surviving in a world full of vampires. And Rain is a competitor in the trials that they kind of form a unlikely alliance, and it's their romance. Obviously the romance continues into book 2, and I devoured this book. This book is over 500 pages, not quite 600 pages. It's 564 pages, and I devoured this so quickly. I was so caught up in this world. I had such a great time reading it. The twists and turns that happened in here were really well done. And I would definitely recommend starting with this series if you haven't already picked it up. If you like vampires and you like fantasy romance, I think this series would definitely be worth reading. I had a really good time with it. The Nightborn duet is probably my favourite duet so far. I've read book 3, but that one wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. Like, I still enjoyed it and gave it 4 stars, but this one is definitely a favourite and one that I would recommend for sure. Then in March I read 4 5-star reads, and the one that I picked for my favourite is The Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. I read The Crimson Moth at the end of 2024 and I was eagerly awaiting this sequel. This is a duet. It's actually a young adult duet, but I had a fantastic time with this one. This follows Rune and Gideon, and I can't obviously talk too much about the premise of this like the plot of this one because it's obviously a sequel and I don't want to spoil it, but the basic premise of this one, it follows a witch and a witch hunter. Rune is a witch, and in this world witches are outlawed, and if anyone is discovered to be a witch they are taken away and killed. And Gideon is the leader of the witch hunters. He's the one that organises the witch hunters and obviously seeks out the witches. And Rune pretends to be in a relationship with him. She wants to get close to him because she thinks that he can give her information on where he is taking the witches and what's happening with the witches so that she can help them. She also has a secret identity called the Crimson Moth, which is basically a vigilante that goes around rescuing the witches where she can. And Gideon suspects Rune of being a witch, so he is also interested in being in a relationship with her because he suspects her, and it's very much a enemies to lovers situation. And the conclusion to this duet was really good and one that I would definitely recommend picking up. Then April was the month where I actually didn't give any 5 stars out. I gave a couple of 4.5s but no 5 stars. So my favourite for April was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I had a really good time reading this one and I remember enjoying it very much when I was reading it. This one follows Ceres and Kingfisher, and Ceres has some unusual powers and she gets taken into the world of the Fae, and Kingfisher is one of the Fae that she kind of gets involved with. I don't want to give too much more away because there is a lot going on in this one and I think it's best to go in knowing as little as possible. But I had a fantastic time with this one and I'm definitely looking forward to picking up Brimstone, although I have heard slightly mixed things about it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you haven't already picked it up. I listened to this on audio and I had a really good time with the audiobook, so I would definitely recommend the audiobook for this one. Then in May I had 3 5-star reads, and the one that I picked as my favourite was Beating Heart by Laura Pavlov. This one is a single dad romance and we all know how I feel about them. I love single dad romances, and this one follows Emerson and Nash. This is set in a small town, as most of Laura Pavlov's books are. And Emerson is a new doctor in town. She's worked in kind of big city hospitals and has moved to this small town because the local town doctor is retiring. Now Nash has a young son whose real name I can't remember, but his nickname is Beefcake, and he suffers quite severely with asthma, and the obviously town doctor has been taking care of Beefcake since he has been very young. And Nash, who is his father, is very concerned when Emerson comes to town because obviously a small town doctor has like a really almost close relationship with their patients. They obviously know them from like almost like birth to death in a lot of cases, and he's very concerned that Emerson is only going to be like a temporary feature in town and is not really going to take the time to like learn his son's case and provide like the best care. And so they start off on a bit of a rocky foot, but then they eventually end up getting into a relationship, and I really like this one. I love seeing Emerson's interactions with Beefcake. That's one of my favourite things about a single parent romance, is seeing that kind of interaction with the kid. And the Beefcake does feature very heavily in this book as well as throughout the series. He's definitely a big part of the series, I would say, in terms of his character does repeat because it follows a family. And yeah, I really would recommend this one. The series as a whole is really good. I think from the series I gave quite a few of the books 5 stars, particularly the later ones in the series, so I would definitely suggest picking up this series if you haven't done so already. Then in June, I only had one 5-star read, and that was Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This was my first 5-star read from Ali Hazelwood. I was almost kind of giving it up with her because I hadn't really given any of her books 5 stars before, and some of them I'd really not liked, and I thought she was a little bit overhyped. And I do think that she is still an overhyped author because I do think there are better contemporary romance authors out there, but I did have a really good time with this one. I think this is a perfect summer read. This one follows Maya and Connor. And Connor is Maya's brother's best friend, and he is a few years older than Maya as well. And they are in, where are they? In Italy? Yeah, in Italy, I think it is, for Maya's brother's wedding. Her brother's book is, does it tell me in here what her brother's book was? I think her brother's book was Not in Love, which I gave 4 stars to, and they're in Italy for this wedding. Her brother's rented out like this villa, and there's a few friends staying at the villa as well as Maya and Connor, and they've always had kind of this attraction to each other. And this is told in 2 timelines. We get to see Maya when she was younger back at university, and the role that Connor kind of played in kind of helping her out while she was in Edinburgh. I'm pretty sure it was. She was studying abroad, and he was definitely there for her when when she needed him, and it was their romance. And I had a really great time with this. This one definitely brings the summer vibes, so if you're looking for a summer read to pick up, I would definitely recommend this one. And yeah, one of my favourites from Ali Hazelwood, and I am going to be continuing to pick up her releases. I think hopefully I have more 5 stars in 2026 from her. Then in July I had 2 5-star reads, and my favourite from this month was Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. This one is a fiction, it's not a romance, and it's very different from I think the other books that I've mentioned, but this one, it follows 3 sisters after the death of their 4th sister, and how they are dealing with their grief, how their relationship has been affected like between themselves following the death of their sister, and just basically how they like continue living whilst one of them is obviously no longer there. And I thought that this was a really powerful read. I think if you've got a sister, it really draws on the kind of relationship that only, I think if you have a sister, you'll understand the relationships that are discussed in this book. If you don't have a sibling, you might not relate to it as well, because it talks about how the fact that as a sister you are really close, but then you obviously have moments as well where you like really don't get on and really almost like despise one another, but at the end of the day you're still sisters, so you have that like close relationship. And I really enjoyed this one. It is an emotional read, and definitely one that I think is worth picking up. Then in August I had 4 5-star reads, and my favourite was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Another vampire book on this list. I had to include this one as well. This one I had such a good time with. I had never read from V.E. Schwab before, and I'm so glad that I did pick this one up. This one follows 3 vampires, Maria, Charlotte and Alice, and it is set in multiple different time periods, and we are kind of following each vampire's story and how they came to be a vampire and how obviously their stories interconnect as well. This one was really well done. It definitely is a gothic read, perfect for spooky season, and it does have some sapphic relationships in here as well. I really want to pick up a copy of this one because I definitely want this one for my shelves, but I don't love the cover for the hardback. I don't know if they're going to do a different cover for the paperback. I will be keeping an eye on it. I know Fairy Loot and Illumicrate both did editions of this book. I am keeping my eye on Vinted to see if I can get one at like a reasonable price, because people are selling them for crazy money, but I would definitely love to have a copy of this one for my shelves at some point. Then in September I had 2 5-star reads, and the one that I've picked is Unravel Me by Becca Mack. And this one is another single parent romance. This one follows Rosie and Adam. And in this one, Adam is a hockey player, I'm pretty sure. I think it's hockey, and he meets Rosie whilst he is out walking his dog, and they're out in the woods and he is shouting bear, which is the name of his dog, but Rosie panics thinking that it's an actual bear that is like on the loose, and that is how they meet. And Rosie has a young child, and the dad of that child is somewhat in the picture, but he is not a very good dad and clearly doesn't want to be involved with the child's life. And it ends up obviously being Rosie and Adam's story. I really liked this one, and at first Adam doesn't tell Rosie who he is. He thinks that Rosie like knows who he is, but then it becomes apparent that she doesn't, because he is like a famous I'm pretty sure it's hockey. I could be wrong. The sports, like, I like sports romances, but I'm not necessarily interested in the sports aspect of them. But she doesn't know who he is, even though he's like quite a well-known player, and obviously that becomes a conflict. But in some books I don't always like that, but in this one I really did like it, and I really liked the role that Adam played in Rosie's child's life, and how he really took that in his stride, the fact that she did have a child, and he wanted the child to be involved in a lot of things that they did together. And yeah, I had a really good time with this one, and I definitely want to read the rest of the series at some point, hopefully in 2026, but we shall see. Then in October I had 3 5-star reads, and my favourite was Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. I read the first 4 books of the Boys of Tommen series, and to be fair, 2 of them I think I gave 5 stars to, 2 or 3 of them I gave 5 stars to, so I could have mentioned the other ones as well, but I thought I would mention this one here. This one is the conclusion to Joey and Aoife's story. Joey is Shannon's older brother, who is the first duet is about Shannon and Johnny, and this is Joey and Aoife's story, and these characters have obviously gone through so much. Joey and Shannon's parents are not the best of people. There is a very difficult domestic violence situation going on, that is obviously discussed throughout the book, and the ending of this, there is a very tragic ending to that domestic violence story, which I don't obviously want to spoil, but this is definitely an emotional read. And this one, as I say, follows Joey and Aoife's relationship. They've known each other since they were very young, and that we get to see their relationship develop through time, and this is a duet with Saving Six and Redeeming Six. They're the 2. And you definitely need to read this series in order, and I just had such a great time with this. The audiobooks are fantastic and ones I would definitely recommend. I really hope my library gets Saving 7 and Releasing 10, because I definitely want to continue listening to the audiobooks in this series. But I would definitely recommend this series, but be prepared, it is a more difficult read, and there are some difficult topics discussed in here. This one features obviously I said the domestic violence situation. Joey is also struggling with a drug addiction and kind of spirals out of control in this book. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, so I might put like spoiler on screen, but there is also teen pregnancy that's discussed in here, and obviously how that kind of plays out with Joey's drug addiction as well. But yeah, really recommend this one. The series as a whole is fantastic and definitely worth a read. Then in November I had 3 5-star reads, and my favourite had to be King of Envy by Ana Huang. This one is Vuk and Ayana's story, and I love this one so much. Vuk is he's not like completely mute, and he is able to speak, but he chooses not to speak very often. And Ayana is getting married to Vuk's best friend, but he doesn't know that this is a marriage of convenience situation between Ayana and Jordan. They are getting married to each other for their own reasons, but it is very much a marriage of convenience. They like each other as friends, but they're not in love with each other. So there's this kind of forbidden aspect because Vuk is very much attracted to Ayana, and Ayana starts noticing Vuk as well, and there's this very much tension running throughout the book until these two characters do get together, because they are very much attracted to each other, but Vuk obviously doesn't want to do anything because she's engaged to his best friend, and he's not aware of obviously their situation. And I just love the way that Ana Huang built this romance up. This one is, in comparison to some of her other ones, much more of a slow burn, and I definitely appreciated that in here. The audiobook was really good for this as well. I haven't listened to the other books in this series on audio. This was the first one I listened to. And I definitely think that I will be listening to the audiobooks going forward, maybe, because I had such a good time with it. It was really well narrated, and I could really imagine and picture these characters come to life, which is, for me, what I love about listening to an audiobook, is if I can picture the story kind of playing out in my mind, then it's done really well. And yeah, I love the romance between these two, and I cannot wait to read King of Gluttony when that one comes out. And then for December, I had 5 5-star reads. A few of them were rereads though, so I didn't want to include any rereads on my favourites list, but the one that I picked was Holly by Adeline Grace. This one was so good. This is part of the Belladonna series. You do have to have read the other books, I feel, before reading this one, but this one is a obviously Christmas story following the characters of the main series. And Blythe and Aris are hosting Christmas, and this takes place after the events of the main books, and they are hosting Christmas in Wisteria Gardens, and obviously Signa and Silas are there for Christmas. And it turns out that this house is haunted by many spirits, and Signa can obviously see the spirits, and she has to try and help them move on. And Wisteria Gardens was built on this old theatre that had burnt down, so they were due to perform. These spirits were due to originally perform when they obviously got caught in a fire and died, and the way to help them move on is for them to do their last performance. And I just really liked the way that this was done. I thought it was a really nice way to see these characters again. It definitely gave the Christmas vibes. This book is also stunning. I've shown it in multiple videos, but if you haven't seen it, obviously the cover's beautiful. We have gorgeous foiling on it as well, both on the front, back, and also on the inside as well. And it also has, I can never find them when I go to mention it, but it also has illustrations as well throughout, which I think just really added something to the reading experience. I really like seeing these characters being brought to life. And if you haven't read the Belladonna trilogy, I would definitely recommend it. It is a young adult series, but I still had a really good time with it, and I would definitely recommend the series as a whole. But if you have read the series and haven't read this yet, I think this is definitely worth a read. It's very much a cozy cozy wintry Christmas read, and I really enjoyed it. So they are my favourites from 2025. As I say, I will be doing a separate video on all of the 5 stars that I read in 2025, because I did have a few that I do also want to mention and shine a light on. But let me know what your favourite read was of 2025, and I will see you in my next video.